I think the Wiggins thing is the headline because it was the most concrete thing and is probably the most seismic kind of change that we could see here. As much as he's sensing that, Chris, I just don't know what team would roll the dice with that. The only great winning season we've ever seen from Andrew Wiggins was a contract year where he had a payday in front of him. Besides that, it's been the inconsistency, the constant wondering of what's up with him personally and mentally. And I don't mean that in psychiatrically. I just mean mentality, focus, execution, commitment, all that stuff. It's been a question since he got drafted, and even probably you would say at Kansas when he was a little up and down.
Yeah.
So who is going to take that chance almost a decade into Andrew Wiggins' career?
Especially with the money he's making, I mean, I think that even complicates him. Or if he was like a rookie scale contract guy, you could squint a little bit more and I think talk yourself into it. The only thing that I
he's
think
making about that much, really. He's making like a rookie. They got him at a pretty good number, but I just think even then, who wants that?
It's still just, I think it's 24 this year, 26 next year, 28, and then there's 30, which is a player option. That's still just a lot of money, I think, in a world where you do have the tax apron considerations. I think like this is the kind of thing where you kind of got to squint a little bit and figure it out. It's not it's not like as easy as it would be if he was making even $20 million. Is just what I would say. I guess just it creates a little less wiggle room. Is my only thought with that. The only reason that I do think there is some world where this could work out for him, or he could get some team could be talk themselves into being excited about it, is that he is at a position that a lot of teams just desperately need this kind of body. The problem is getting him to some of those teams, right? I mean, you could look at a lot of people have fake done these trades before, or just mentioned him, and I don't think he was super thrilled with. He's never been super thrilled with them as organization, so maybe this isn't even a good idea. But like Cleveland has a glaring Andrew Wiggins size like hole on this roster, right? Like does a team like that talking to him? Does Memphis look at this and say, okay, we're going to rehabilitate Wiggins at this big position of need for us? We have some salaries we can cobble together. Enjoy Luke Kennard and whatever. Like I think a team like that could talk themselves into it and say, hey, we saw this guy win a title and just try. Like history suggests that some team will try to talk themselves into Andrew Wiggins. That's just often how this works.
But that already happened once for him.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's a good idea. Right? Yeah, I don't think this is a good idea.
I don't think you're saying it's a good idea, but I'm just saying from the standpoint of another executive, I think you're right that he's not going to be out of the league. But if you're talking about a team making an effort and giving valuable stuff up to go out of their way to get him, I'm not sure that market necessarily exists. When I saw this, to me, I think that it is just it's an indication that the Warriors would use his contract as the one to get something. Maybe even more than Chris Paul. That's all it is to me. I don't see at age 28 going on 29 where you saw the rehabilitation already happen and then he fell out of it again. And this is not just this year. It's really dating back to when he went away from the team last year, and it sounds like that was a death in the family, and that's a totally understandable reason to take a departure. He was back in time for the postseason. Wasn't great in the postseason, but things happen. Not holding that against him. But it is a season and a half, really, and even last year he wasn't great. His threes went in, which is not happening so far this year, but he wasn't himself defensively or as a rebounder, I think we would all say, when he came back coming off of that finals run the previous summer. So you're talking about like a second rehabilitation 9 years into his career or 10 years into his career. This is year 11, I think. That just feels hard to imagine. But that three-point shooting is the one case I would make maybe to balance myself there, because what are we saying about Wiggins if he's shooting 39% or even 38% like he has every single season as a Warrior versus 30%, which is what he's been at this season? If even that changed, you're probably talking about somebody who is a little easier to fit into other teams and everything else. But I just have a hard time. Like, the Warriors are the team we say that about for guys who need that. He's already on the Warriors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, go there. You'll figure it out. Well, he did that, and now he unfigured it out. So why, if I'm like the Pacers, am I like, oh, yeah, our great track record of turning guys into stars, it'll be here that he refigures it out all over again? I don't know. It's hard to imagine.
Just two last notes on Wiggins, and I guess I'll ask you if there's a team that comes to mind for you, kind of specifically about this. But number one, analytically, the nerd numbers, the analytics. If you look at like dunks and threes and EPM, this is his worst season by a country mile. Do they say by a country mile in Arizona, Brendon?
I mean, I've heard the phrase, but not often.
Okay. So just wanted to make
Is
sure
that getting thrown around a lot in the Midwest? Is that like multiple times a day kind of thing?
I don't know about multiple times a day, but like I feel like I hear it, once a week, a couple times a week.
We measure everything
like
by the size of the Grand Canyon out here. So we say 1/3 of the Grand Canyon.
Okay, cool. Good to know. This is his worst season.
Yeah.
It's based on just like raw. If you look at the analytics, by a wide margin, even worse than when he was 22 years old. Or like, you go back further, there's some seasons that are like not great, but they're not negatives, and he's rated out as a negative this year in an insane way. Secondly, he's never fully talked about what was going on last year personally. He doesn't know that to anyone. The Warriors, the fans, the media, doesn't really owe it to anyone but what he feels comfortable with, to be clear about that. But you just don't know how that affects someone. You just don't. And if there's something going on there that is still affecting him, like that, maybe that's part of it. He is a human being after all. And if there's something really severe going on,
and I do want to correct that. Nobody passed away, but there were Shams Charania reported illness last year.
Yeah.
Serious illness.
Yeah. So something's going on there. You would understand on a human level if he's not there, and that has taken a toll on him in a big way for whatever reason. Is there a team to you that comes to mind as saying, okay, we could give the Warriors enough, and we're a team that could use Andrew Wiggins either in practice or in theory?
Well, so this comes back to what I was just saying. I don't think that it benefits the Warriors to do the first type of trade you're talking about. To treat Wiggins as somebody that they're dumping. They want to, yes.
Yeah, they can't.
Kawakami had the idea of a mini rebuild, but getting rid of even a presently bad, negative player, but somebody who you would imagine has a pathway to at least becoming neutral again for picks or something, that's just kind of useless to them. So when you say enough, the type of trade that might make sense would be to flip him for other rotation players. But what type of team is doing that? So I think it has to be that he is part of a bigger move for them to upgrade, whether that's, Pascal Siakam, who I, mentioned was included in that piece speculatively, or it is Kyle Kuzma, or it is Jeremy Grant, or it is... People have been kind of, I think, making fun a little bit, but also not, of a Vucevic to the Warriors trade. Maybe he goes to Chicago, but it's to me, it has to be that type of a thing where he's just sort of the salary piece at that point, more so than anything else.
Yeah, you can't mini rebuild with Steph Curry at age 35, almost 36.
You don't think they can?
Can't do it.
Well, that piece says that they're okay with it.
If mini rebuild means you just like clear the way for young guys and get some veteran reinforcements, I guess I just don't think of that as like a real mini rebuild. I think that
the way that he
feels
phrased it is a mini rebuild would be potentially accepting a lesser seed or a negative outcome the rest of this season, kind of treating this season as somewhat of a lost cause, and having a mini rebuild that pretty much lasts starting at this deadline through the offseason to put them in a better position come October to use the next season to the best of to the maximize that it can be. That's kind of how he worded it. Not 3 years and then Curry's retiring.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's hard to stomach, but it's probably more palatable than the alternate, which is you just have to like take the L. And there's just a lot of unknowns. I think regardless, there's a lot of risk. I think whatever path is coming here for Golden State. Yeah. I think that it's kind of the tricky part of it. Maybe there's like a multi-team complicated thing we're just not seeing on the chessboard yet that kind of solve this. But that feels maybe like the way this gets kind of resolved is a third team takes on just like random stuff and gets the picks. Another team gets Wiggins, and then the Warriors get the rotation pieces that can be shuffled around for whatever teams.
The primary thing with Wiggins, if you're looking for any team that he would land on, even if it's a multi-team thing, is every team is going to need him to be the elite defender, physical, forceful, athletic guy, and rebounder that he was when the Warriors won the finals in order to maximize his value. That's his destiny on every team he would ever play for the rest of his life, not just the Warriors. So he's not good enough on offense to do less with that other stuff. And so, like, I like the Pacers. I brought them up on purpose. They would like him because of the potential that he has to help clean up their defense, their physicality, their rebounding, their execution, and all that stuff. The same things the Warriors are asking of him. So it's going to require somebody to just kind of be cocky, I think, as an organization and be like, yeah, we're better than, Bob Myers and Steve Kerr and Steph and Draymond and all that as far as structure goes. And good luck proving that right.
Yeah, it's a huge, I think, risk for a team to do this. Maybe I could see the Kings maybe, but trading in conference is, there's a lot of. It's going to be fun. We're going to see if we get some weird Andrew Wiggins trade where he's on the Detroit Pistons. I'm going to be a little underwhelmed. I want to see him go somewhere if this is going to happen where there's still something of a pressure cooker about where he is, and at least seeing kind of how he thrives in an environment instead of taking a step back to like the other end of the NBA.